And welcome to the Canadian Immigrant Virtual Fair with hiring partner Dialectica. My name is Catherine Steele, and I'm delighted to be here with you today. I'm a coach and consultant and CEO of English Pronunciation for Success, specializing in speaking and pronunciation techniques, and thrilled to be moderating as well as participating in today's fair. I hope you've had a chance to visit some of the exhibitors today, including myself. If not, the fair is open until 4 p.m. Eastern today. Just a note for all those participating, this session will be recorded and posted on the Canadian Immigrant YouTube channel, after which you can rewatch it. Let's jump into our next speaker session presented by our hiring partner Dialectica. The presentation is entitled Canadian Workplace Culture and is presented by the YMCA. We are joined by Devi Shinta from YMCA, and this presentation will help you understand the Canadian work environment, prepare you to work in a multicultural workplace, and you will learn effective communication skills to succeed in the Canadian workplace. We're thrilled to have you, Devi. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and hello, everyone. Thank you for joining our webinar today. Just give me 1 minute. I'm going to share my screen with you. All right. Catherine, can you let me know if you can see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
All right, so hi everyone, my name is Devi. I have been working at the YMCA for the past 3 years with the Newcomer Information Center Department. And I also have my colleague here with me today. Her name is Simran Gill. So she is here as my backup in case I lost my internet connection, but hopefully everything will go well today. And before we begin, I would also like to mention a little bit about the YMCA Immigrant Services programs for newcomers. We are a nonprofit organization serving newcomers who are looking for settlement-related information and wants to settle in Ontario. We have programs for newly landed immigrants such as Newcomer Information Center, language assessment programs, and programs for newcomer youth and employment services. We also have pre-arrival services for people who are still outside Canada, but already obtained the initial approval for permanent residency in Canada. So without further ado, let's get started with the webinar about workplace culture in a Canadian way. So here are the 4 topics that will be covered on today's webinar. And before we start, I just want to inform you that the Canadian workplace culture that is discussed in this presentation is about workplace culture in general, because Canadian workplaces are made up of people from many different backgrounds and many different cultures. So the Canadian workplace culture is all about understanding the people you work with and how you can communicate with them. And the purpose of this webinar is to provide you with insights about Canadian workplace values and help you to transition smoothly into your new workplace culture. So the first thing that you need to know about Canadian workplace culture is to understand the Canadian work values. And aside from your qualifications and technical skills, most employers in Canada will value someone who has great soft skills and communication skills. So as a new hire, it's important to have a good work ethic and meet or even exceed employers' expectation to build your credibility and to build trust in your new workplace. So what is considered a good work ethic, right? And the first point is punctuality, because time is very important in Canada. So when your supervisor tells you to arrive at 9 in the morning to the office, so make sure you arrive 5 to 10 minutes earlier. And same thing with meeting, like if you have scheduled a meeting with some business partner or with your team, make sure you arrive like around 5 minutes early or a few minutes early. It also applies when you are working from home as well. Make sure that you log in earlier if you're working from home. And also when given a deadline, when given a project by your supervisor, make sure you also submit them on time. And if there's like for some reasons that you are going to be late coming for work or you're going to be late to attend the meeting, always communicate with your supervisor that you are going to be late. And also the same thing applies with the deadline. If you cannot meet your deadline on time, make sure you communicate them with your supervisor. And depending on the urgency of the task, your supervisor might agree to extend the deadline or not. So one thing is it's always better to communicate with your supervisor if you cannot meet the deadline or you're going to be late, or if you need to if you need to leave work early, right? And the second point is being responsible. It means that you can be dependable, you can do your job well and you can finish the project on time. Being responsible also shows that you are a reliable and honest person. Your words can be trusted. And you also need to be accountable for your actions when given. And also when you are given like a work phone or work laptop, try to use it for work purposes only. And also it's also good to maintain like a work-life balance as well that way, right? And Canadian also values someone who is adaptable and flexible because it shows that you are an open-minded person and you are willing to learn new skills. And it also shows that you can learn from your mistakes and you are able to accept feedback positively. Now, another important values is knowing how to work as a team. So even though you have exceptional or excellent technical skills, if you have negative attitude and you cannot work well with other people, nobody will want you in their team. So the ability to work well with others, understand and learn to work with people who have maybe different working styles, different personalities, and different cultures, learning how to share your ideas and how to listen to other people's ideas and sharing responsibilities within your team member, they are all important skills. And even when working in a team, you also need to make individual contribution. And when working independently, you need to know your own responsibilities and your job descriptions. And in Canadian workplace, usually you are expected to follow instructions and procedures, but it's also important that you take initiative and be proactive in the workplace. So for example, once you finish with your task or assignment, you can let your supervisor or coworker know and look for other work to do. Or another example is you can take some courses to improve yourself professionally. And regarding relationships with your supervisor and coworker, in Canadian workplace, it tends to be more open and casual, but you still need to be professional, be polite to each other and show respect. And make sure you greet them, first thing in the morning, like when you go to the office, if you are working in the office, or when you're working from home, you can send a quick chat to them and say good morning to them. And don't be afraid to ask questions or ask for clarification if you're not sure about some task, because asking questions is another way of learning. And during the team meeting, try to participate by asking questions, or you can also contribute your ideas, especially if your ideas can help the team to achieve the goal, right? And again, you can also ask for feedback from your supervisor. Depending on their personality, you may get direct feedback or you can get constructive feedback, which is more indirect. So with constructive feedback, your supervisor may include some positive comments about your work, and they will also mention some improvements that you need to make, that you need to be made. And sometimes they may say it in a very subtle way, so you need to pay close attention to it if you receive a constructive feedback. And when you are working in a profession that requires you to interact with clients, it's important to listen to your customers' needs and have a good and positive attitude, like keep a smile on your face when interacting with the clients. And in a Canadian work environment, there is also a term that called cultural fit. So what does it mean, cultural fit? In a hiring process, the term fit refers to two aspects: job fit and organization fit. you're considered fit to your job if you can perform and do your job really well. And you're considered fit to the organization if you're compatible with the company's values, behaviors, beliefs, and norms. So employers will consider whether you are culturally fit in the team or organization before they are making a hiring decision. And there are also research that shows that individuals selected on the basis of cultural fit will contribute faster, they will perform better, and they will stay longer with the company. And regarding the dress code, every workplace has their own dress code, and it could be casual, could be business casual or formal, depending on the profession. And if it's like your interview day or your first day of work, I would suggest that you wear a work appropriate clothes and be more conservative. Then you can find out more about the company's dress code by asking your supervisor, or you can also observe how your coworker dress and mirror them. And even if you're working from home, it's also better to wear work appropriate clothes to make you feel more productive, right? To make you feel that you're like really working. And it's also important to maintain your own personal hygiene. It can be something simple like taking a shower regularly, washing your hair frequently, brush your teeth, and the most important thing is to wear deodorant, especially if you have strong body odors. So try to use deodorant that smells neutral, because some workplaces in Canada has a scent-free policy, which means that you are not allowed to wear perfume or any scented products because people can be allergic to the smell. And some people are more sensitive to this smell, to like a strong smelling perfume or any scented products, because it's important to be mindful, with the people you work with in Canadian workplace. And regarding cultural diversity in the workplace, valuing diversity means creating a workplace that respects and includes differences and recognize the unique contributions of all employees. And the dimension of diversity can include gender, religious beliefs, race, ethnicity, age, physical and mental disability, sexual orientation, and other components that makes us unique and different. So with these cultural differences, there can be some challenges like miscommunication. And when you communicate with people from different cultures, do not assume that they think the way that you do, because what you think is normal behavior in your culture, it may be wrong in another culture. So it's important to be aware of the cultural differences and be aware of the differences that may have, and show respect to the other person, right? Of course, there are also some benefits when you're working with a diverse team. They can bring some unique perspective on how to solve problems, or they may be able to find more innovative ideas to solve the problems that your company may face, right? So communication is like the most important thing in Canadian workplace and is a foundation of successful relationships, both personally and professionally. And here are some tips that can help you avoid misunderstanding and improve your work relationships. So the first tip is to practice active listening. What it means is you pay close attention to the conversation. You're not just hearing from one ear and out the other ear, but you listen to what the other person is saying. You can do this by, expressing empathy when needed, or you can rephrase what the other person is saying to make sure that you understand their point. And you can just smile and nod as well to make sure that you are listening to them. One thing that I want to let you know is try to avoid interruption when someone is talking. Always wait for your turn or wait for the other person finish talking. And the second tip is to pay attention to your body language and the tone of your voice, because nonverbal communication takes a big part in human interaction. For example, in Canadian workplace, it's better to maintain eye contact when having a conversation to show that you are engaged with that person and to show that you are listening to them. But be careful not to stare, and also maintain personal space. So when you're talking to someone, make sure that you have at least an arm's length distance. So it's about like 100 centimeters apart. But of course, with COVID, you need to maintain at least like a 2 meters apart, right? When you are like meeting someone in person. And the third tip is to keep it to the point. Say what you want clearly, keep the information short and factual, and you can also use a speech that is polite and respectful. And then another point for effective communication skills is to be open-minded. So it is an important skills to be open-minded, as it shows that you want to listen and you want to understand other people's perspectives. And the next tip is to be open to feedback. Again, it's an important workplace skills because it shows that you want to improve yourself. And of course, the last tip is to be confident. Try to avoid making statements that sounds like questions. You can use firm but friendly tone, but be careful not to sound arrogant or aggressive. So how do you do that, right? How do you use firm and friendly tone, but not to sound arrogant or aggressive? So when Canadian communicates in the workplace, they are choosing words that can soften the language. And this might be a new concept for most newcomers in Canada. Canadian communication involves the use of language softeners, and it's usually used in Canadian workplace culture when someone wants to make suggestions or making requests, giving a command, or giving bad news. So to give you an example, if your supervisor wants you to submit the report by the end of today, instead of saying you must submit the report today, which is more direct communication style, they would say something like, would you be able to submit the report today? Like, which is using the language softeners. Or when someone disagree with something, during the meeting, instead of saying I disagree, they would say something like, is there another way we could use to solve this issue? And as you notice, the communication style that is using language softeners will automatically soften the opinion, making it sound less strong. And it's also a way to minimize tension and conflict and avoiding friction with other people. So this is an important like skills that newcomers can learn, like softening their language, and it is essential in the workplace. And for some newcomers that are used to direct communication style will find it confusing, or they may feel that they are not being upfront when they're using language softeners, and it's more difficult for them to adjust to this communication style. So there are some tips that you can consider when learning how to soften your language. Try to accept that the communication style, like the communication style with language softeners puts more value on creating harmony and collaboration in human interactions, and it is very much appreciated in a Canadian workplace. Then you can try to adapt. So you can use the more direct approach with coworkers from your first culture or with someone who has similar backgrounds as you are. And it also in a critical situation in a workplace, for example, during emergencies. So you can use your own judgment depending on the situation. And also be mindful, because when you are using the language softeners, you are not seen as misleading, but you are seen as building harmony with other people. You want to create a good work environment where you welcome and appreciate other people's ideas and contribution. And just to summarize everything, not all companies are the same. So every workplace has its own culture. Depending on your team communication styles, they can be more direct or indirect. So pay close attention to the details and procedures. For example, like read the workplace policy when you first start your work, and listen more and observe how things work in your workplace. But if you're working from home, obviously it's going to be more challenging to observe how things work. So during the team meeting, try to observe how your team communicate with each other, Do they raise their hand before they speak? Do they wait for their turn? Do they have their camera on and stuff like that? And if you are newly hired, usually like some companies will assign someone to train you. And, like, don't be afraid to ask questions if you don't understand about something. You can always ask for clarification whenever you are not sure, because, like your supervisor actually expects you to ask questions, like during your first few weeks at work, right? But remember, don't ask the same questions over and over again. If taking notes helps you to learn new things, then you can do it as well. Then be realistic, prove yourself, and be patient. Because as a new hire, you might be asked to work on a small project. So don't be disheartened, because when you do the small projects really well, then it will like open more opportunities to bigger projects, right? Show that you have, you can do your job really well, and show that you have a good work ethics. And be polite and respectful, because it's important to treat everyone with respect, not only to your coworkers and supervisor, but the people in your office, like everyone, like security guard or janitors and all staffs like working in the office space. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And then socialize at lunch break. You can take a moment to learn a bit about the people working in your team. You can engage in some small talk to build some rapport with your coworkers. And there are some topics that you should avoid when communicating with people in your workplace. Try to avoid talking about politics, age, religion, money, and asking about someone's salary, because it's considered private and sensitive topics. And lastly, always stay positive and don't be too hard on yourself when you make mistakes, because mistakes can happen, and you can take a moment to think what lesson you can learn from it and how you can improve it next time. So always be positive and do your best at work. All right, so that is everything for the presentation, and I'll answer any questions that you have.
That's a wonderful presentation. We welcome questions in the chat. All right. I have a question. I just started my new job in June of last year. We're now headed into the office, but I've never actually been in. Any advice to start my first in-person day on the right foot?
For sure. Like, for sure, you want to like, when you're, if it's your first day, like for in-person working in the office, it's good to know, like look for the direction to the office. Make sure that you arrive on time, right? That is the first thing that I would give you advice. If you're taking bus, make sure that you check how many how long is the distance, how many minutes or how many hours that you need to take there to go to your office. Always arrive like 5 to 10 minutes earlier, like I mentioned, and then wear work appropriate clothes and weather appropriate, and just like greet everyone that you meet, like when you meet someone or your coworker, it's good to like meet your coworker in person, like face to face, and you can do some small talks. And usually like if it's your like a first time working in the office, like your coworker will give you some tour around the office, and then they will introduce you to other staff as well. So yeah, that's like the thing that I can suggest you to do. Like, make sure you arrive early.
Great.
Be punctual.
I have another question. I often find my boss giving unrealistic timelines. How can I push back without seeming like I'm not good at my job?
Okay, that's a good question, actually. I think if you feel that the deadline they are given, you can kind of like have a chat with them, see if they can, try to see if they can, you can explain why it's the deadline that that your supervisor give is kind of hard for you to fulfill by saying that, oh, this work kind of like, I will need more time to finish this because of something like this and this and this. So try to keep it like factual, and like you can always negotiate with your supervisor. And what's the reason that they are given like a very quick deadline? You can find out what's the reason for it, right?
That's really helpful. I have another question. This one is, my team is very small and I'm the newest member. They talk over each other a lot and I can't get my voice in. Any suggestions?
Like this is also a good questions. Like, yeah, because, you know, like you need to adjust, like, you know, in your own like workplace. If maybe you can try to, like, sometimes like raising your hand can help, like because, you know, it shows that you have some opinion, right? Because you also need to show that you have something that you want to say, or you can like you know, maybe catch their attention by saying, oh, can I speak my opinion like really quickly, because I think that, you know, it can help you with the team, right? So make sure you know how you can, you know, attract the team member so that you can say, you know, you can say your piece. So
That's really helpful. I have one more question. Does YMCA offer any in-person training sessions for job searching?
Does YMCA offer any in-person job searching session?
Training sessions.
Training sessions.
For job searching.
For job searching, there's like a YMCA employment services. You can get help for job searching. But of course, depending on your profession, there are maybe some like language training that is related to like work related, and also depending on your like a language level, your CLB level, there may be some like training programs that can help you find job as well. But if you like need to find job, like a job searching, there's some like we also offer some webinars for job searching techniques, and you can always like have a one-on-one like consultation with some employment agencies, for example at YMCA. And like we have our virtual booth today, so feel free to drop by our booth and you can find out what services that we offer. We have pre-arrival services, we have employment services, language assessment that can help you to improve your English skills. And we also have newcomer information center that can help you to, you know, like make your transition here in Canada more smoothly, and you can get like settlement information as well. And yeah, feel free to visit our booth to learn more about our services.
Devi, that is wonderful. And that's all the time for questions that we have for today. Thank you, everyone. Please rejoin the fair. If you didn't get your question answered, or if you have additional questions, head over to the YMCA booth and chat or video call them and have your questions answered directly. Thanks again to Devi for joining us, and to our hiring partner, Dialectica. Thanks all. Again, I'm Catherine Steele from English Pronunciation for Success, and I do have a booth here today. If you'd like to come by and chat, enjoy the fair. It's open until 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.